Hey everybody, we're heading out into some showings today. I know a lot of people are off work today, but one thing about real estate is there are no days off. Happy to be out here. We're actually going to go look at several homes between Kingston and Lenore City area. And so with the windshield time, I want to do a video. I do have some good notes here, because I want to discuss the pros and cons of buying manufactured homes, mobile homes, double wides, right? So I'm not going to get into necessarily single wides. We don't do enough single wides. It's very rare you find a single wide on permanent foundation, and that it can qualify for loans. I have done them if it is on permanent foundation, and the condition and the age and stuff like that meet the loan requirements. You can there are a few lenders that will do them. So happy to direct you if you are. But for the most part, right, talking about manufactured homes, they are talking about double wides. Mobile manufacturers, same thing. A lot of people get them confused, or you'll even hear people throw in the term modular. Modular is not the same as manufactured or mobile home. Think of a modular as you somebody like ships you a kit, and you just put the kit together. Mobile manufactured is, these are basically trailers that are on wheels that's getting shipped somewhere, and then they take the two trailers, aka double wide, and put them together, right? So they put them together, and then that obviously creates a double wide. Now, one thing that you have to do is you have to put it on permanent foundation. So many people get this confused. They don't understand how it is permanent foundation. I hear all the time, oh yeah, it is on permanent foundation, or oh, there's no way that's on permanent foundation, when in fact it is the opposite. Nobody can determine if it is or is not on permanent foundation, as far as me, your real estate agent, a contractor, you, the owner or buyer. You can't determine it. A licensed structural engineer has to evaluate the structure. They will get underneath the house. They will determine how many piers, how many straps, how many tie downs, how many anchor points. All this has to meet what we would call HUD code for permanent foundation. I have seen them where it did not meet permanent foundation requirements, and a contractor had to go out and had to totally redo some stuff, big expensive work. And I've seen it where they just needed a couple extra straps, a couple extra tie downs, something like that. Very, very minor work to get it to qualify. But that is ultimate be all. If it's not on permanent foundation, it is almost impossible to get a loan on it. The loan that you would and could get on it is terrible. It's like a 20-year loan, 25-year loan, so it's less terms. The interest rate's going to be like 12%. And typically a company like Vanderbilt Mortgage, who just got in trouble, or is in the process of getting in trouble, right? They would be the people who would loan on that, because it's considered still mobile. But if it is on permanent, for the purpose of this, I'm going to only talk about if it is on permanent. And I would say 90% of double wides, that are 40 years or younger, are probably on permanent foundation. But a structural engineer has to verify that. Your lender, the buyer's lender, will require that letter. Most of the time, they will want that letter done within 90 days, 6 months, potentially. I have seen them, take a letter if the person just bought it 3 years ago, accept that same letter. But I've also seen lenders kick that back and require and update it. So every lender underwriter will look at that a little bit differently. But once it is on permanent foundation, the closing, the title company will detitle it with the state of Tennessee. And by detitling it is no longer considered a mobile home. It will basically be considered fixed to the property. Therefore, it is a deed. You no longer have a title like you do with a vehicle. You would have a deed like you would at the courthouse, and that property will be the deed. Otherwise, if it is a title, you're actually buying the land. And then title-wise, you're actually buying it, the mobile home and putting it there. But they are two separate things. You're buying the land with a deed, and then you have a title to the mobile home, which is what a lot of people do when they first do this. And they're going with the manufacturer. And the manufacturers, they're just stupid and lazy, and they don't detitle it for you. So when you purchase it or sell it for the first time, the title company will do that. So let's talk about the cons, right? Well, actually, let me give you my overall opinion, right? So we do own one in downtown Knoxville. We found it, 3 years ago, something like that now. It was one of the first, I think it was maybe the third or fourth rental property we actually bought. Great location. It's literally 2 miles from Neyland Stadium. And we've had it rented out to the same tenant since we bought it. It's been a great rental for us. So I, even myself, I'm not afraid to buy one. I grew up in double wides. Tons of families still live in double wides. I don't hate on double wides. That whole talk of, oh, double wides go down in value. They don't appreciate, they don't go up, they deteriorate. No, that is a lie. They do go up in value. So my opinion is, I think it's a great for some people, and usually with a smaller budget, but they maybe want a bigger home, that's, and again, I'm basically talking about the pros and cons now. So let's get into the cons, right? So much of my opinion, but I will buy them. I am very pro mobile homes for certain buyers. So cons, as I was mentioned there, they do not gain value like regular stick-built homes do, but they do gain value. The problem is the example here, right, the greater Knoxville, East Tennessee area, if it's on like an acre or less land, it's really hard to get a mobile home to sell for over $250,000. It just is. For one, the comps really aren't there consistently, even if it's brand new, right? The comps aren't there consistently, and then you just start getting into buyers that can afford that because of interest rates today. Buyers that can afford that. Sorry, I just had a thought of another con to add that I don't have wrote down there. It got sidetracked. Typically don't want to spend $250,000 or more on a manufactured home. They're typically on the side of, I want to do a stick-built home. And so you gotta understand that. So they do go up in value, but not near at the same rate as a stick-built home does. Your insurance, right? So I have this insurance company, and I knew this before the insurance company, but it's really came to light when people want me to quote their mobile homes. Mobile homes are tough. I do have several carriers that will quote them. It's not like a stick built where I have like 30. We only have maybe 4 companies that will do manufactured right now. I would love to get some more. But it's just tough. It's not a business that a lot of insurance companies want to go after. And the reason is because it's considered high risk, right? By the material it was built, if it does catch fire, for an example, it is very likely it's going to be a total loss because that thing's going to burn very quickly compared to a stick-built home with maybe brick on the outside or something like that, right? It's kind of got some fire-resistant stuff going on, whereas mobile homes do kind of burn very quickly. So it'll be much harder for the fire department to get there in time and to save it. Therefore, the insurance company would have a bigger loss if they have to pay out a claim. So that's why they charge more to it, right? And typically what I do see like the same price point home being about 50% and sometimes even 100% more. And again, there's always different situations, right? More than what it would be on a stick built. So insurance is going to be more. Along with that, your interest rate on buying a manufactured home is going to be a little higher than if it was on a stick built. Typically about a half point or so, depending on what loan type you go with. FHA, VA do very fine on manufactured homes, good interest rates, but it's typically if you were to buy that same home and same price point, it was a site built, your interest rate would still be a little bit less if it was a stick built and not a site built. That's just the industry. Another con is these homes are mostly in rural areas. Now, I mentioned when we own one of them as rental in kind of downtown Knoxville, but it's very rare, more rare than not, to find these, in Farragut and Hardin Valley, right? And because most of the time, the manufactured homes are on unrestricted land. And you have city limits, you got land and restrictions, and you got HOAs, right? You typically can't do any manufactured homes in there. So a lot of times they're in rural areas, and sometimes it can get in areas where there's other manufactured homes, maybe even very low quality manufactured homes, so you can get some rougher neighbors sometimes. Now, sometimes it may look like a rough neighbor, they may be the best neighbors ever. But in general, if I'm stereotyping it, right, a lot of times more rural areas, so you can't, I want to get one within X amount of my work and blah, blah, blah. We want to do it's very hard sometimes just because they're just harder to put up and harder to find the land. They are harder to resell, typically than a stick-built home. Now, I say this, and I've done many manufactured homes, both on the buying and selling side where there are multiple offers, and they went, like crazy. This does happen, but and when I say harder to resell is we work with some buyers that we maybe home-wise, really the best home potentially could be this manufactured home, but they just won't even consider it. Some buyers, no matter what it is, will not buy a mobile or manufactured home. So you automatically just go ahead and wipe out a portion of all buyers that would have been in your price points because they will not consider it, right? So that's what I really feel as like the cons of buying it. Things you have to consider and think about. Now, pros, I think there's way more pros than buying these. Pros, so you're going to get way more for your money. Typically, the same size home, and let's just say relatively same condition, same similar finishings and fixtures. If it was stick built, it's going to be quite a bit more, right? Tens of thousands of dollars more, you know, on a 1,500 square foot stick built home versus the 1,500 square foot double wide. So affordability is much better for the manufactured homes as far as what you get. Now, as a con, and I mentioned in the rural areas, for some people, this is actually a pro. And what a pro by that is, a lot of times it's on unrestricted land, which means, you know, you bought a mobile home on 5 acres, you can potentially survey off some land and build your forever home while you're living in that manufactured home. Sell it to friends or family, give it to friends or family, whatever you may need. You want chickens and donkeys and unicorns? Well, a lot of times these homes are on unrestricted land to where you can have animals and all that stuff like that. So that is a pro for some people. Another pro, and a lot of people don't think about, and I actually, as I was thinking of this, it really wasn't something I was consciously thinking about. It just kind of appeared as, man, we'd really never see this issue. There's very rare, like you almost never see foundation issues with manufactured homes. Site-built homes, especially older homes, settling cracks, you know, although sometimes it may look kind of crazy, maybe not really an issue. But we see a lot of foundation issues with homes in lower price points to where that manufactured home in the same price point is least likely to have foundation issues. And if it does, very, very easy to fix it, right? You jack it up, put another pier in, right? Versus a site-built home is a whole lot more work to figure out the foundation stuff. So that's actually a pro, is you are very less in a mobile home than a stick-built home. Also, usually very easy inspections, right? These things are cookie cutter put together in a factory, right? This isn't Joe Schmo's second cousin, and him and his friends been building houses for 35 years, and right, they're just slapping stuff together and covering stuff up, and inspections will you know, in site-built homes can be very rough sometimes in lower price points. Typically, they do have very easy inspections, so they don't really have a high fall-through rate due to inspections. You know, hey, listen, there's a leak in the bathroom sink. There we go, we're back. So typically easy inspections. Another thing is actually really cool on these mobile manufactured homes. They're very easy to update and repair, right? Because the pitch of the roof is like non-threatening, right? It's really easy to, in a day, a roofing company to come in and replace your roof for very, very cheap compared to, you know, a lot of times the same size stick-built home and the pitch is crazy and they got hazardous pay and they're having to strap in. Same thing for HVAC systems, usually pretty easy for them to replace it and do all that with the ductwork, everything being very accessible, you know, crawl space actually being 3 or 4 feet tall, versus, you know, a crazy 19-20 crawl space where you're literally like having like a horror film getting trapped in there and dying scenario. And then the updates, right? Everything, you know, electrical is pretty easily accessible. Plumbing's very easily accessible. They're really easy to update and make improvements too. Now, one thing I want to leave you on, it's kind of on that same note, right, is with mobile manufactured homes, I talk to people about do the updates and improvements that you want for that. However, I do recommend using the builder's grade to maybe a little bit above a builder's grade material and finishings and fixtures and quality. Because the last thing what you want to do is put in a $25,000 awesome, you know, marble shower in a manufactured home and never be able to get your money out because there are no comps of other manufactured homes having a $25,000 marble shower in. So you can like outdo yourself a bit in that aspect of it. Let's see, I'm gonna stop up here and get a little subway. So that's one thing you do have to caution on. It kind of is a con. You can't really just go out and do whatever improvement you want to and for sure get a return on it like you can most of the time on a site-built home. But you can still do it new and do it and still get plenty of nice stuff, builder's grade quality, and it's cheaper to make those improvements. So wanted to share this video. So we do a lot of them, get a lot of questions on it. A lot of people don't understand how they work, and there's a lot of bad a lot of bad and false information out there. There can be really good homes. But again, that's why we do a video. Pros and cons are always things for people to consider. But as always, if you got questions, feel free to holler. Happy to help.